Africa is slowly but surely becoming a desired destination for exports. Opportunities for South African companies on the continent have increased from 12% to 29% in the past 10 years. 12% of imports into South Africa comes from the rest of Africa. About 46,000 jobs have been created on the continent in the past 5 years through direct and indirect investment. Economists say that Africa's gross domestic product is expected to double in the next 10 years.
Between 2003 and 2013, there has been a change in the dividend payments by South African company to shareholder within around 12%. In other words, 12% of the change in dividend across the board could be emanating from African countries. That is 12% as compared to what was 10 years ago, which was then calculated to be about 2%. So indeed, I must say that there is a huge increase in opportunities for South African across the continent.
But the South African Chamber of Commerce and Industry says local companies are not exporting as much as they should be, even when the rand is weak. They have to contend with high input costs because they still have to import raw materials from other countries. Saki admits that the competitive playing field has grown more intense.
Other countries on our continent, Nigeria, Botswana, Mauritius, have been a lot more aggressive than South Africa has been about growing their competitiveness. And we need to rise to the challenge and ensure that the strong base of which we are able to compete is not eroded.
A lack of proper infrastructure and high port and transport costs are some of the challenges hampering trade on the continent. South African companies say low productivity, high electricity and high transport costs are a spanner in the works.
If you look at the fact that there's a lot of Chinese and Asian organizations in Africa that is very active in those countries, it's not always that we can, as Africans, compete with, for instance, labor costs, for instance, skills, for instance, productivity. So those are the areas that we need to improve. And I think one of the biggest areas that we need to improve is in terms of our skills of our workforce. And through that, the productivity will improve, and through that, competitiveness.
Companies like MTN, SAB, Miller and Shoprite Checkers are successfully running businesses elsewhere in Africa. Analysts say South African companies have a competitive edge to succeed because of the goods and services they provide. But South African companies need to understand the policy directives of countries they are trading in.
South African company needs to understand that there is a move to empower African people. There is a huge and literally a movement for something they are calling African affirmative action. It will be very difficult for companies which are literally white dominated to be prominently succeeding in the African continent.
Analysts expect the demand for South African goods and services to grow. They say both the government and the private sector must work together to help facilitate trade and investment opportunities to help increase Africa's economic growth. Naledi Mulifi, SABC News, Johannesburg.